Hi everyone, and welcome to this video on working out the side of a triangle using the cosine rule. So we've already looked at working out the length of a triangle or the angle of a triangle using the sine rule. Another rule that you are required to know is the cosine rule. And as with the sine rule, where we had our very own formula, there is another formula that you need to know for the cosine rule. And at first, it seems a bit scary. This formula is much longer than the original sine formula that we had. However, the concept is still the same. Okay, we still have a A, B, and C in this formula, and instead of a sin, we have a cos, because this is the cosine rule and not the sine rule. Okay, now this exam question that we are given on this slide is basically a default exam question that you could be given in an exam. Okay, and we're going to run through this question and then you'll understand how we use the cosine rule to work out the side of a triangle. Okay, so first of all, let's have a look at this formula. Now, as I mentioned, this formula contains an A, it contains a B, it contains a C, B and a C again, and then an A, and it has this cos. Okay, now first of all, there's nothing sort of additional here. The first step with any sine or cosine rule question is going to be label the sides, and that's what we're going to be doing first. So step one is going to be label the triangle. Okay, so first of all, the only additional point here is that the capital A, the A has to be on the side that you don't know or the angle that you don't know. Okay, so in this diagram, we don't know this letter, we don't know this side, so this has to be labeled as lowercase a. Okay, so just a point to mention there, I'm going to write down, is that the side or angle that you don't know has to be labeled as capital A for angle or lowercase a for side. Okay, and if there's one thing you're going to take away from this video, it has to be this. Okay, this is the key for the cosine rule, and it's the differentiator between the cosine rule and the sine rule. Okay, so make sure you keep that point in mind. Okay, so as we saw in this example, that we don't know the length of this side. Okay, and because we didn't know the length of this side, we have labeled that lowercase a because it's a side, and therefore the side which is the angle which is opposite it has to be labeled as capital A. Okay, now the B's and the C's, it doesn't matter, you can label them in whichever order that you want. So we'll label this capital B, the side opposite it has to be lowercase b. We'll label this capital C, and then the side opposite it has to be lowercase c. Okay, now unlike the sine rule, when you're using the cosine rule, you're going to be using all the sides. Okay, so if we have a look at this formula, we have a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. Now, we can substitute in our values now because we're given them in the question. Okay, so a is x, so we've got x squared equals b, which is 13 squared. We've got c, which is 10 squared. We've got b again, which is 13. We've got c, which is 10. And then we've got cos, and then capital A, which is 100. Okay, so now this we can just type into your calculator. So type in calculator. Okay, and I'm going to type into my calculator. So we've got 13 squared add 10 squared minus 2 brackets 13 10 cos 100, and that gives you an answer of 314.1485262, and that's equal to x squared. Okay, so we're at this stage of working right now. Now, as you can see, there's something different. We don't want x. The question asks us to work out the value of just x. We don't want x squared. So we want to get rid of this squared. Now, in order to get rid of that squared, we have to do the opposite of it. The opposite of squaring something is to square root something. So we're going to have x equals the square root of all this that we originally had. So I'm just going to write answer. Okay, and that should already be into your calculator. You can just square root the answer, and that will get you x to be 17.724235556. Now it does say to one decimal place, so we're going to cut it off here and 2 rounds down. So our answer is going to be 17.7 centimeters. And if we look at the question, we can see that BC is the longest side, so it has to be bigger than 13, which it is. It's 17.7. So just to reiterate here, what we're doing, it's nothing much new. Step 1 is always going to be label the triangle. Step 2 is going to be write out the formula, and the formula is given to you on the formula sheet. After you've written out your formula, you have to substitute in your values, which is over here. So over here, all we did was substitute values. So we've substituted in our values. We've typed this into our calculator, which is step 4. And then after we've typed it into our calculator, we saw that that was x squared, but we don't want x squared, we want just x. So step 5 was to square root it. The inverse of squaring something is square rooting. That's why we square rooted our answer to get our final answer, and then we rounded that to one decimal place. Okay, I do have another question, so we're going to have a go at this question now. So it's the same concept, but this time we have to label our x on ourselves. Okay, so it says work out the length of AB. So if we're working out the length of AB, we're going from A to B. So it's going to be that side there. Let's label that as X. Okay, and remember, the side which we don't know, or the angle we don't know, has to be labeled as A. Okay, so this is going to be lowercase a, and the side opposite it is going to be capital A. I'm just going to write over the letters they've given just so it doesn't confuse me. Okay, and then the others, it doesn't really matter. So this is B, so the side opposite it is going to be lowercase b, and this is C, so the side opposite it is going to be lowercase c. Now we've done step 1, which was label the triangle. Now step 2 is going to be write out the formula. Okay, so it's going to be a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. Okay, now once we've written out the formula, we're going to substitute. Okay, now when we don't know what a is what we're going to work out, but we've labeled a as x, so we're going to say x squared equals b, which is 15, so we've got 15 squared, plus c, which is 12 squared, minus 2, b is 15, c is 12, and then we've got cos, and then capital A, which is 20 degrees. Okay, now we can just type this into our calculator, which I'm going to do now. So we've got 15 squared at 12 squared minus 2 lots of 15 brackets 12 cos 20. Okay, and this gives us an answer of x squared equals 30.71065652. Okay, now once we're at that point, the question wants x, it doesn't want x squared. At the moment we have this 2 over here which we don't really want, and the opposite of squaring something is square rooting something. So to get rid of that 2, we need to find the square root of our answer. So we're just going to square root our answer, and this answer should already be in your calculator. So x is going to be the square root of your answer, and that's going to give you 5.54. 1719635. That's the answer that you're given. However, the question does say to 1 decimal place, so we're going to cut it off here and 4 rounds down, so our answer is going to be 5.5 centimeters. Okay, and that does make sense because if you look at the diagram, we're working out the length of our smallest side, so we know that our answer, our value for the side, must be smaller than the other 2 values that we are given. Okay, and that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked it, and one last thing, please subscribe and hit the like button.